We're holding this hearing today because some, I would say, very unscrupulous people have figured out a way to make a quick buck at the expense of sick patients, hospitals, and in the end, our entire healthcare system. For the past few years, hospitals all over the country have been struggling with the terrible problems of drug shortness. They just don't have the drugs, certain drugs when they need them. The drugs have been in short supply are not allergy drugs. They're not blood pressure pills. They tend to be cancer pills, powerful drugs that doctors need to treat cancer patients and or to perform surgery. These drugs, in their shortage, make it very difficult and sometimes impossible for doctors and for hospitals and nurses and other healthcare professionals to do their job, which is to care for us when we're critically ill. A West Virginia hospital recently told me about 2 young ovarian cancer patients who traveled several hours to reach the hospital and start their treatment. When they arrived, the hospital had to send them home. The hospital had to send them home because it didn't have the needed drug. Didn't say it didn't exist, they just didn't have it. The main purpose of this hearing today is not to talk about the causes of drug shortages on a general scale. There have been hearings in other committees about this issue. I know that the Food and Drug Administration and the drug industry are working hard on averting shortages, and I applaud them and urge them to keep up their work. There'd be nothing more terrifying to think about being in a hospital and needing a drug and you can't get it because somebody else is hoarding it and jacking up the price on it. What we are here to talk about today are the opportunists who suddenly appear when drugs are in short supply. They are profiteers, people who exploit the misery of sick patients to make a quick buck. We usually call them gray market companies. There are other names that are ascribed to them, but we'll stick with gray market companies. These gray market companies seem to know when drugs are in shortage. That is their leverage, their key to success, even before the hospitals know it. And they always seem to be able to get their hands on short-supply drugs, even when authorized prescription drug distributors don't have them in stock. For the past few months, my friends, Senator Harkin, who I believe is coming, and Congressman Cummings, Elijah Cummings, who I'm pretty sure is coming. He's running a meeting now, but I think he wants to make a statement, and I want him to. And I'm hopeful also that Senator Enzi might be here. He certainly is invited, and we would be honored to have him. And myself, all of us have been investigating who these gray market companies are and where they're getting their drugs. At this point, I ask unanimous consent to insert our staff report on this investigation into the record of this hearing. What we've found is that our drug distribution system has weak points, and gray market companies know exactly how to exploit weak points. We have learned that there are people in the drug supply chain who ignore their professional and business obligations and sell their drugs to gray market companies instead of to doctors and to patients or hospitals. This is the report. We have carefully mapped out dozens of cases of where prescription drugs that should have been delivered to hospitals and administered to sick patients instead spent weeks circulating in the gray market. We're not sure about everything that happens to the drugs when they're being passed from hand to hand in the gray market, but here's one thing we do know. Every company in the chain charges a big markup. By the time the gray market has done its work, a cancer drug that originally cost maybe $10 or $12 has become a drug that costs $500 or even $1,000. You're talking about markups of 1,000% or more. And it's, the person who makes the drug, the distributor who distributes the drug to the hospital who needs the drug, but then in between is the gray market, these little boxes of people who are using shortages to drive up the cost of the profit they can make. This kind of price gouging is disgusting to me and obviously indefensible. Not even gray market companies themselves are willing to defend it. I invited the 5 companies we looked at in this investigation to testify at this hearing. They all declined my invitation, and that's because they all know what they're doing is wrong. I could subpoena them. We've subpoenaed some of their records, and maybe someday I'll subpoena them, just because I like to see people who don't do good things squirm. We need to close down this gray market, I would suggest to you, and do a better job making sure that prescription drugs are safe and affordable, and that's why I look forward to talking about today.